get started. Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to the full moon in Cancer Zoom moon circle. I'm Nissa. Y'all probably know that. Those of you that are here live, I appreciate you holding on for the delay. What happened was I was totally getting all set up at my office, which is where I was because I had just seen a client. And of course, my computer didn't have enough juice in it. And the charger that I brought was not my computer charger. And so I had to totally scramble and go, okay, what am I going to do? Am I going to record this on my phone? I don't even know if I can record this on my phone. I want to be able to see everybody. Okay, thank goodness I only live like a 5 minute drive from the house. But this was not my intended background. This was not my intended setting. But as things go, that is how things go. It was raining on my way home, so I totally have got like raindrops on me. And when I was walking in the door, I thought, oh, maybe like I was to be blessed by the rain to be here with you all. So I come with rain blessings and moon blessings, of course, also. So if you have not got yourself all settled and cozy, maybe have like a cup of tea or something delicious. I've got a little candle and my cute little lantern over here. If you want to light a candle or just do something to make your space comfortable for you. What we're going to do is I'm going to share with you a little bit about where the moon is at, what's going on astrologically, as well as how to work with the moon in general and why we would do that and what that means for me. So, working with the moon is something that I've been doing for the past several years, and it is a practice that really helps me come back to myself. I say the moon is the forever teacher. So, the moon is always changing, it's always in a new place and a new phase. And I don't know about you, but so am I. And sometimes I think that I'm like this static thing, right? Where, this is Nissa and here's her identity and she does these things. And I'm like a living, breathing, changing, experiencing human being. And so for me, working with the moon and just following the moon cycle and then using these punctuation marks in time, which like the new moon, the full moon, or the half moon in the midway point, which when you follow the moon in that way, there's something happening every week and really every day. And so it helps me remember, oh, yeah, I'm also changing and learning and growing. So, especially with the full moon is the period of time where the moon has its highest luminosity. Obviously, it's a full moon. We can see all of it. What that also means symbolically is it's a time to shine light on and bring into our own consciousness the things that we're learning and growing, or the ways that we're growing. In contrast to the new moon is a time where there is no light of the moon, or depending on how you interpret it, it's just that very beginning light of the moon. And so there's so much unknown. There's so much that's in it's the time of the unconscious. So that's why it's a really great time to plant seeds and dream and think, wow, what is it that's wanting to come into being and be experienced? Right now we're with the full moon, which is about looking at, okay, what am I experiencing? So if you work with the new moon and plant an intention, for example, you don't know what is going to happen and how that's going to come into being. The full moon is when you can go look back at what your intention is and see what has actually happened. What is coming into material reality? And then from there, be able to make informed decisions on what you do next, which partially can be about what is time to let go of, because the moon is getting ready to move into a time of shedding, of letting go. So, what does that mean for you right now? Before we get into the particulars of your life and give you some time to think about what's going on in your life in at this time, let me also mention that, and many of you probably already know all of this, but just in case you don't and you want a refresher, a primer, the moon goes through the 12 astrological signs every 28 days. So when the moon is new, it is in the same sign that the sun is in. So 2 weeks ago, the moon was in Capricorn because that is where the sun is. Then it has moved steadily. It's the fastest moving, planetary body. It's not a true planet, but it among all the other planets and things that we follow astrologically, it's the one that moves the fastest, which is hence that like ever changing, constant change theme of the moon. Now it is in the opposite sign. So the opposite sign of Capricorn, which is where the sun is Cancer. So the sign of Cancer is the crab. It's the like soft inner inside with a little bit of a hard exterior. If you're a Cancer, if you know any Cancers, you might, be able to relate to this. But the thing that Cancer does, one of the things that Cancer does really well is take care of itself. It sets boundaries. That's part of that exterior, harder shell. And also with that softness on the inside, it's like, oh, what nurtures me? What nourishes me? So I I love working with, I mean, I love all the moons. They all got their own flavor, but right now you might be thinking about what is it that really nourishes and nurtures me? How do I do that for myself? Because it's really up to me to do that work. I'm the one that needs to set the boundaries. I'm the one that needs to decide, yes, this is working. No, this isn't working. This is what I need. So, this is a great time to be thinking about that. And in particular, the things that are really obvious in that, because of course, we're in the new moon. So, this is about what you're learning and growing about how to take care of yourself in general. Now, also, and I really, astrology for me was a pandemic hobby. It was like one of the things that in 2020, when it's like, what are we going to do? I started to learn a lot more about. Um, so I share all this as an armchair astrologer. However, right now, what's going on in particular with this full moon is Mars is also in the same sign. It is right there next to the moon. And so whenever a planet is there with the moon when it's full, it really draws our attention to this planet. And it also means, since it's a full moon and Mars is there, it is in opposition to the sun. So we've got a, you know, Mars Sun opposition going on with this full moon. What does this mean? Mars Mars is like a prickly planet. Okay. It's like Mars was the god of like war, and it's like it's sort of like um yes, how do I take care of myself? But what is really bothering me about this right now? Like, what are the things that it's like, ooh, I'm really like, ooh, that stings a little bit, right? Like, how are these issues of taking care of myself and nurturing and nourishing myself, what's really sort of getting under my skin? It's what is inflamed in this area in my life? And I'm remembering maybe it was Thich Nhat Hanh who said, I just remember when I was much younger and not really feeling comfortable with anger, and then realizing, I think through a teaching with Thich Nhat Hanh, I don't know, credit where credit's due, if that's where the credit's due, that the gift of anger is that it motivates us for change. So, if there are things that are really bringing up some sort of irritation for yourself with how you take care of yourself. Maybe there's a thing where it's like, I'm really done doing this. This is a really great time to tune into that and listen to that. And not that you have to like immediately take action because we're moving into a time of shedding, but really anchor in that lesson for yourself right now. So that's part of what's going on in the sky as a whole, as it has to do with this particular full moon in Cancer. Okay, so when it comes to working with the moon in particular, this is great. This is theoretical. We're thinking about things, we're musing on things. Let's get down to business. The first thing that I invite you to do is get comfortable, like 10% more comfortable than you are right now. And if you are comfortable closing your eyes, oh, I invite you to close your eyes or stare at something maybe beautiful or inspiring. And just begin to notice your breath moving through your body. Not necessarily trying to change it, but noticing where it's flowing. And maybe noticing how the act of noticing might in and of itself change where your breath is flowing. And then beginning to invite in a deeper breath, noticing the expansion of the lungs and the rib cage, and noticing the movement of your belly, that soft spot in your torso underneath the bony rib cage. And notice that difference in those two places in your torso, the hardness of the rib cage, protecting the lungs, the heart, and the softness of your belly that also holds other vital organs. And notice how these two parts of you, the hard rib cage, the soft belly, how they work together to create a space of wholeness of your breath. And now I invite you to think about what you initiated, if anything, with the last new moon about 2 weeks ago, which was right at the end of 2024. Especially if you went into this year with any particular intentions. Just think about what those intentions are or were, suspending any judgment that you may have if it arises. We're not worried about that right now. And then just trace back what you have learned in relation to those intentions. What has come into fullness? What has not? What have you learned? And if you'd like, you can also think back to 6 months ago when the new moon was in Cancer. And we started this longer term lunar cycle. Was there anything that you initiated back in July that has come into some fullness of expression now? What have you learned since then? And you can take your time with these thoughts and these lessons. And when you're ready, I invite you to slowly come back and to write down any insight that came to you as you thought about the things that you've learned over the last 2 weeks or 6 months. Maybe particularly in terms of how you take care of yourself, what nourishes and nurtures you. And as you write, just allow yourself to free flow. There's no right or wrong. There's no particular way to answer these questions. And some of them may be ones that you return to over the following days, or even the rest of this lunation, the next 2 weeks. Just catch whatever thoughts bubble up. And the final part of the exercise that I want to share with you, which I will send out these questions so that if there's more to uncover for you, you'll have plenty of time to continue to journal on these. But the final part that I want to leave you with is so the moon is that very top of the inhalation. The full moon is that very top of the inhalation of the lunar cycle. And what follows that is release. And so, one of the things that we can symbolically release these things that we've learned is to express gratitude. So, I invite you to write down whatever, however, you would sum up what you've discovered as you thought about these things in terms of you can express the gratitude in any way that you want. It might sound like, thank you for giving me the opportunity to blank. It might be, I'm grateful for learning blank, or any other way that you'd like to express some sort of gratitude for what you have experienced, for what has come into being in this lunation. And I'm going to have you, or I will recommend that you write it on a piece of paper that after we're done, you can then dispose of in some way. If you like to burn things, burn it. You can also bury it in the ground. You can also rip it up into tiny pieces and put it in the trash can. But it's a way of sending that gratitude for what you have experienced, for what has come into being out into the world so that that exchange, just like we breathe and the trees breathe and we breathe for each other, it's like that with our energies and the moon. So we want to keep those lessons flowing and feel that gratitude for what this life has given us and what we have learned so that we can then create more space for what is to come next. So if you'd like, you can write down your statement, your moon statement. So you want to say some sort of appreciation, thank you, I'm grateful, and acknowledge what it is that you are learning at this time. And those of you that are present now, I invite you to join me in a collective deep breath together, which again, that represents that growing fullness of the moon and that release. So, breathing in deeply, feeling that fullness of expansion in the chest and the belly. Pausing at the top of the inhalation and fully exhaling and feel the experience of release. Those of you that are here live, please stay online so we can come together and share a little bit. And those of you that are seeing the recording, thank you so much for joining me in this weird time space warp that we can do with recording things.